Hello, girls, boys, and everybody in between. It's me, Just May, and welcome to another edition of May I Just Say. That's right, it's May I Just Say with me, Just May, your first eliminated queen from RuPauls Drag Race UK Season 4, the show where we talk about every episode of RuPauls Drag Race and we have special guests along the way. We're going to be talking about the things that we just loved and the things that we wish could get fucked. Now, this week I am joined by a very special guest. She's the only cheese that I'll let in my body. It's the one and only Cheddar Gorgeous.
Oh, hello, my dear darling Just May. It's so lovely to see you.
Oh, it's gorgy to see you, babe. Now, are you ready to take a deep dive into episode 3 of season 4 of RuPauls Drag Race UK?
You know me, May. I am always ready to go deep.
So, we started with the episode. Starlet had just departed and the mood in the workroom was slightly somber. How was that after Starlet had left?
Real. Like the realization that we're going to lose somebody every week. That's a real thing. That's the hard. The drag's hard. Don't get me wrong. The drag is hard, but saying goodbye to new friends is even harder. And I think because when you left, I mean, obviously I was sad, May. I was sad, but we hadn't had chance to connect. And I always knew that you, a stand-up professional as you are, you would be fine going out into the world no matter what position you came in. But particularly when it was a younger person going home, oh my word, my aching heart. Do you know what I mean?
100%. Because in the confessionals, when you're talking about leaving and everything, the one thing that I said to my producer was that I was glad that I left first because I don't think any of the younger queens could have mentally coped with going first in the same way. You started a new day in the workroom and we kicked off with a mini challenge, and that mini challenge was the NAFTAs.
Well, I, after, looking at that, I actually couldn't tell the difference between me regularly in drag and me in quick drag. And I don't know whether that's either a really good thing or a really bad thing.
I think it means that your makeup skills are so precise.
Right.
Right.
It just falls onto my face no matter how much time I've got. Or I'm actually really crap. And so and I've been sliding on charm all of these years.
The NAFTAs, we all had our quick drag. We had some categories. We had Beast in Show, who had the star quality of the cast. Oh, I think I agree with the person that got it. We had Black Pepper, but was that your choice?
Oh, absolutely. Hands down. Hands down.
Like not even a question there.
Not even a question.
Up next, we had Best Background Actress with a non-speaking role. Do we think that Copper should have got that?
Well, I think Copper speaks quite a lot, personally. I think Copper's been
not
quite
being able
vocal.
To shut her up.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think she'd been quite vocal up to this point. So I don't think I did agree with that. In many ways, I think I'm actually one of the quieter ones, which I don't know whether anybody was expecting that, because I am quite quiet in those first episodes, aren't I?
And you never know when.
Let's be honest, everybody's quiet in that room next to Danny Beard, aren't they?
Oh, and if you are next to Danny Beard, then you've actually got tinnitus. After that, we had Best Scene Stealer, Camera Hog, and that was actually Danny.
That was Danny Beard, totally right, completely, absolutely correctly decided.
No one else could have taken that role. And up next, the penultimate one was Best Actress Resting on Pretty. Now, if the whole cast would have been there, who would have got that?
With the whole cast, obviously, it would have been you, May, wouldn't it? If the entire cast had have been there, it would have been you, with a close second of probably Starlet. But I think it depends on how you interpret this. So are we talking about the one who is the look queen resting on Pretty in drag, or are we talking about the one who is the tirade of the season?
Well, do you think there is a tirade of the season?
Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously, aside from myself, There are a couple of different candidates, aren't they? But it all comes down to taste, doesn't it?
But
And
she wasn't there this season, though.
Who wasn't?
Taste.
Taste. Ba-bum.
And our final category was Best Hot Mess.
Best hot mess. I think that was probably correctly decided. Yeah, and she then went on and proved it in the episode, didn't she?
So Sminty got hot mess, and then she was allowed to decide what colour box went to each pairing. Our pairings were, we had Sminty with LaFille, we had Dakota with Baby, we had Copper with you, we had Danny with Pixie, and finally we had Jombers and Pepper.
Who would you have wanted to be with?
Oh, who would I want to be with? Oh, body shape wise, I think I would have wanted to go for either Danny or Pixie, but neither of those can sew that well. So I would have probably wanted either Baby or LaFille. So were you happy with your pairing?
Oh, totally. I was completely happy. I mean, at this point, none of us knew each other very well. So I didn't really know Copper too well. But she seems like a lovely person. She's kind of similar age to me. She seemed like we would get on, and kind of like quite a good team player, quite a good team worker. And I love that. So she was very upfront, very communicative. And then when we kind of sat down and chatted, she was very confident with the sewing. So I'm like, well, absolutely, that's going to be the area that I need help with, because I can't sew for toffee. I'm scared of sewing machines.
What colour would you have preferred rather than gold?
Black. I think like I love gold, because I'm actually quite a colorblind person, so my palettes tend to be very limited or very random. So people often think I'm making really innovative color choices, but the truth is I actually just have no idea what I'm wearing. So I get confused between the subtleties of colors. So for me, I'd have either gone with black or I'd have gone with a metallic. I always love a metallic.
Fun fact, we would have made a great pairing because I am colorblind as shit.
Bam!
So we've got our pairs, we've got our colours, and we set off with our challenge. How was the fabric?
Do you know, it looked very nice.
But
there was a lot of sequin in there. There was a lot of more peculiar stretch fabrics that were a little bit ambiguous, that we couldn't really tell how they were going to take with the sewing machine. So it was
So I don't think we need to really talk about what happened in the workroom. There wasn't that much. It was
we had some lovely conversations about love.
Do you want to chat about it?
Oh, I love talking about love. Don't you like talking about love?
No,
I feel like we might have hit on something here.
If I was in there, I'd have been like, oh, I'd just like sleeping with married men. So we had a lot of conversations in the workroom. Those conversations were centered around the difficulties of dating in drag. Have you experienced many obstacles in that department?
So, do you know, in the past, definitely. But now I feel the world is a very, very different place. And I feel like it's not only more accepted, there's actually also a certain crowd out there who will actively pursue you if you're a person in the limelight. But now I think there are people who are just attracted to that kind of drag spirit, which can be a different kind of barrier, because you actually find that people are attracted to the thing that they see on the telly, or the thing that they've seen in the show, or the thing that they see on Instagram. And that can be difficult to reconcile with the reality of me.
Very much so, because I am two different people. When I'm not on a stage or not working, I am shut off. And it's because I find that everything is so draining. You put so much of yourself into that that you can't do that 24/7. And I think to expect that from a person is to expect too much.
Totally. But I mean, like me, at least both of the versions of you are both sluts. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so I mean,
absolutely.
There's that advantage you've got.
It's just about a difference of about 12 inches between my arse size.
I thought you were going to say something else then. You're like, well, there's an advertisement for yourself, isn't it?
So we walked into the runways and our runway started with the blue box. We had LaFille and Sminty. I think that they absolutely smashed it and kept it completely on brand for the pair of them. I thought that they looked insane.
Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, the concept of water was a little bit ham-fisted in there, but I'm down with it because at least they troubled themselves to attach it to a narrative, and I'm always here for that.
After that, we had Jumbers and Pepper. What did you think of their look?
Do you know, I actually really liked it, but I was here for the process. So, like, the fact that they'd spent so much time on kind of making that thatch,
yeah,
I thought that was quite cool. And I actually thought that they looked quite fashion. I thought they were one of the ones that came across as
I absolutely loved the process of what they made. I thought that the shoulder pad that Jumbers had was so, like, it just set her off perfectly. The thatch weaving pattern that they did was just, like, the amount of time that that must have taken is beyond comprehensible in the amount of time that probably was allotted here. It's Baby and Dakota.
They were stunning.
Stunning. We can't even talk about it. It was so gorgeous. There were no flaws. Yeah. It just worked for both of them perfectly. The printed fabrics that they used on the boots and then the accessories for Baby, just gorgeous. And talking of beautiful young things, let's move on to questionable old things, where we had Danny and Pixie with their, in my opinion, the outfit that I would have worn, 100%. Right. I loved both of them. I thought the color was great. I loved that richness to it. Granted, it was probably more on the simple side, but as people saw from my time there, I enjoy simple. I like things that can be worn again and again.
Well, they do say that simple is next to godliness, don't they? Like that's cleanliness.
No,
but simple means close to God, doesn't it? That's like the entire thing, close to the divine. They did actually kind of go to the brief more than anybody else in some respects.
They were two raven-haired lovelies going off to the bingo to try and win their fortunes.
Right, picking up the kids on the way home. Yeah, so it's definitely a daytime do.
Probably drop the kids off on their way there.
To school. Straight in at 10 a.m. in the morning. Get that first card on.
Hey, if you can't bingo and watch This Morning, then what can you do? And our final pair was yourself and Copper Top in your gold Barbarella Space Avengers fantasy. I actually, there were elements of it that I really loved. I loved the story that the pair of you were telling. I thought the good and evil came across.
Absolutely love Copper Top. I'm just very glad the judges were so far away for my particular runway.
Good from afar, but far from good.
From afar, yes. I don't know, but then I'm a massively harsh critic on myself. I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to being a critique. So I actually thought we looked quite good walking the runway together. And like, so for me, it's always about the story. And it is always about how are you selling this? How are you going to put this out there? I suppose I can't help feel a little bit of guilt for not being in the bottom with Cop.
Yeah.
Because she's a friend. Do you know what I mean? And like, that's not me saying, I wish I'd have gone home, because I don't. But I think, or even me going, she'd have won. She wouldn't have. I'd have murdered her on that run, or whatever it is I'm supposed to say. But there is that little bit of, I feel bad about that.
Would you have rather it was the pair of you in the lip sync?
No, I'd have hoped it was neither of us. But I feel like because Copper did get selected, there's always going to be that little bit of a pang in my heart that I wasn't able to follow through and be her teammate right to the end,
Yeah. We moved on to the bottom two, and unfortunately it was Copper Top and Black Pepper. Was that the right decision?
I don't know. Because what's the alternative?
Well, it could have been Jumbers And black
It could have
pepper.
been Jombers. I mean, yeah. I mean, personally, I'd have just liked to see the winners duke it out for once. Yeah, it could have been me and Copper. It could have been Jombers and Pepper. You know, I think it was an interesting choice to split us up.
I mean, I think it was maybe the right choice, because I do think that out of the pairing, you and Jombers both had the slightly stronger looks of the two. So it's kind of that thing of, do you penalize both, or do you actually narrow it down to the people who had? But I mean, choices were made, and unfortunately, Copper and Pepper lip synced to Ella Henderson. And you know what? I honestly think that lip sync was a lot closer than what you imagined it would be.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, I think everyone just thought Pepper was totally going to wipe the floor. And I really feel like Copper held her own. It was just literally right at the end when Pepper was like, and a trick, and a trick, and a bam. It was like, oh, okay.
Totally. I do think, like, Copper, people did maybe think of her as a bit of an underdog in that lip sync situation. And she massively pulled it out of the bag at the end. Unfortunately, it was her time to go. She was asked to sashay away. The lady said leave, and she left. She gave us a lovely exit line about all tops sometimes do have to bottom. It's a sentiment that a lot of people do have to come to realise is true, but...
Well, it's true. It's true. You deny yourself the pleasure if you don't, quite frankly.
You do. I mean, everyone should try bottoming at least once for RuPaul.
Yeah, totally.
It's an amazing experience. Unfortunately, I'm not the only one that bottomed for RuPaul. We have had to say goodbye to Copper Top. She sashayed away, leaving her ginger shots behind her. Do you have any departing words for your dear sister?
That the adventure is not yet over, that we have so many more dimensions to explore, and to just keep on pushing, which I know she will.
Now, what would your Just Slay moment of the episode be?
My Just Slay moment. Do you know, I just loved playing the villain for once, because I know it may surprise many of you out there, but I don't actually get the opportunity to play a villain very often. And I quite like playing the villain. I quite like playing the role of the person who's a little bit like, and because it's not like what my personality's like. And so I really enjoyed being able to strut out there and have that little bit of a moment of antagonism with our dear Cop in a playful, fun way.
I think mine would have maybe been LaPhil and Sminty's outfits, because I can't get over them. I loved them both so much. On the other hand, what would your get fucked moment have been?
My dress.
Your dress?
I mean, I love it and I hate it, and I love it and I hate it. Like,
I actually number with it.
Oh, I've got one planned. But like, and I love it. I genuinely do love it. It is it's totally something I would wear, and it's so camp and it's fun, and it does look like a piece of fool's gold. So I feel like it has a real lovely it's like an embodiment of a metaphor, like, and I really like that. Do you know what? Can I have a different Just Slay moment?
No, go on.
My Just Slay moment is RuPaul calling my dress perfect.
Ah. Now, I think my get fucked moment, I think it will be that I didn't get one of those NAFTA busts.
Yeah. What would you have wanted?
Oh, I don't care what I'd have got it for. I just wanted one of those awards. They were so ugly and so camp, and I will be buying one on eBay. With that, we've come to the end of our time on May I Just Say. But Cheddar, before we go, I think we've got some audience questions. So, Cheddar, start off with a question from one of your viewers.
What? Oh my God, these are all inappropriate. Are there any looks that you solely create, or do you team up and help with most of it? Right. So I basically, if it involves sewing, unless it's just a bit of hand sewing, I involve other people, because you know what? It's important to keep this economy going. And there's a lot of people out there who want to make outfits and get paid for it. So yeah, I mostly work with people now. And I think it's something that people don't always push forward enough. As drag queens, we need to be really clear that like this is not always only one person doing all this. We have like communities and friends and families around us that are absolutely working for us all the time to make this stuff happen, because you know there's a lot to get done.
There really is. And I am pretty much the same. I can't sew, I can't make that much myself. If it's hand sewing, I can do it, but yeah, with everything that I took to Drag Race, minus I think 2 outfits, I actually drew everything out and came up with the idea, and then it was just me and the designers and makers refining that to make it a thing that can actually be worn. I'm going to pick a question that I got sent. I mean, I think my favorite question is, do you see bum holes in the workroom?
I mean, probably I didn't ever. I mean, I feel like if you were working hard enough, you probably could have made that happen. But I mean, I bet everyone saw my bum hole, because I have absolutely no shame. So I was taking my clothes off all the time.
You were in pants a lot, but never saw your bum hole.
I got, how did you come up with your drag name? A couple of people have asked that. Yeah, and I actually went in one of my human lives, you know, with my adopted human family, I actually would visit Cheddar Gorge an awful lot. So Cheddar Gorge is a network of caves and a gorge in a town called Cheddar in Somerset. And I'm not actually from there. It's quite a distinct accent. I won't try and do it here. But yeah, we used to visit there all the time. And when it was coming up to having that right gravitas, what was the thing that I needed that had that right gravitas, but also playfulness in a pun of a name? It was the one for me.
That's actually quite a good way to get a drag name. Mine is a lot less interesting in that May is actually just my surname. And I was also born in May, and I called myself May, and then Just May came because I was May for a while, entered a competition, and someone was like, "Oh, what was your name again?" And I said May, Just May, and that's how Just May came about. There's only one thing left to say now, Cheddar, and that is get fucked.
I would expect no less from you, darling.
Where can the good people find you?
In a bin somewhere, trying desperately to dispose of that garment. Or you can find me actually most Thursday nights. You can find me at my home club here in Manchester, Cruise 101, or you can of course find me on the social medias. If you want to buy me a coffee, you can even do that through a wonderful platform called Patreon. You'll find the link in my Instagram bio. But otherwise, just come along, enjoy, comment on the things, watch my stuff. I try not to post too much because we're all incredible dopamine addicts these days, and I try to reduce that if I can. So lovely time.
Bye, darling.
Take care, gorgeous. Bye.
Bye.
Just May bottomed for RuPaul.
Yeah,